Welcome to this online lecture about theoretical framework. In this lecture I will explain what the purpose is of a theoretical framework and how to build a theoretical framework. First, it is important to understand what theory is. Theory does not exist without practice or real life, especially in applied sciences or design research. Theory comprises of definitions of terms or concepts, hypotheses in quantitative research and assumptions in qualitative research, arguments based on primary or secondary research, ideas about practice, so how people think about it, what they believe or what they value. Models of practice. How can we describe, simplify, or understand practice? And statement based on insights about practice. So, what is then the purpose of a theoretical framework which is based on theory? For example, it helps you structure the literature review, which you will do also in international insights research. And this structuring can be done by creating a model based on topics or pieces of literature that you find and trying to understand the relations amongst the several topics and how it's relevant for your research. Also, your theoretical framework can show or is proof of why your research is necessary. It shows the research value. And this can be done by finding a gap or unmet need. That is your research objective. It is like a donut. The theoretical framework is the donut and that defines the hole or the gap. The theoretical framework can also give ideas for your research, for example, for your research setup, or give already some first insights about the problem, the gap, or the unmet need. It can also help you to make predictions, for example, hypotheses or assumptions for your research project. It also comes in handy at the end of your research project, where your theoretical framework can serve as an umbrella or a model to show your results. So it's kind of like a hooks that you can add your results to it, and then it helps you to structure your discussion for your research paper. So, summing up, the purpose of a theoretical framework is that it structures your literature review by making a literature map. It is proof that your research is necessary. It shows your research value. It can be the donut that defines the gap or the unmet need of your research objectives, and it gives ideas for your research, maybe your research design setup or your first insights. It can help you make predictions about, you can create hypotheses or formulate assumptions about your research project. And in the end, it can serve as an umbrella which can help you to structure the discussion for your research paper. Okay, so now I will explain how to build this theoretical framework. First of all, it's all about reading. Read a lot of literature, research of others, studies, other literature reviews that you can find, books, all things about your subject. But reading is not enough. You also have to review the literature if it's good, useful, applicable, valid, etc. For your research. Based on things that you have read in the literature, you can start defining terminology, keywords, constructs, concepts, topics, etc. And do this not only based on dictionary definitions, but also of things that are discussed in journal articles, books, etc. The next step is to formulate research objectives. These are really specific goals for your research that help you to gather data and find answers to your research question. Based on things that you've been reading, you might want to reformulate your research problem. You've already formulated a problem definition for your proposal, but I saw occasionally that students have been reading and discovered that in the literature already insights were found about that solve their research problem, and they also find a new gap or new need that was not covered. I will show you an example later on. Also part of your research framework or theoretical framework is to reformulate your research problem. And also to reformulate your research questions. You follow this process of first formulating your first questions, then do a literature review, build your theoretical framework, reformulate your research problem, formulate your main research questions, and maybe also formulate some sub-research questions. Here's the example that I wanted to show you. You see chunks of insights from the literature review, and that resulted in reformulation of the research problem and thus a reformulation of the research questions of the student. And the final step is to build or to create the theoretical framework. You define variables, categories, or themes that comprises your research. You can make a hierarchical chart like this, where you have main categories and subtopics underneath it. So to sum up, how to build a theoretical framework is to first read a lot, and then also review what you've been reading. Define terminology, formulate research objectives, then reformulate your research problem and questions, and define variables, categories, or themes that are relevant for your research. And here is an example of a theoretical framework in a model, and you see 4 subjects that all contribute to assessment criteria and insights on current policy, in this case farming policy. And also already you can draw some first insights, and these were in this case recommendations for farming policy. And here is another example of theoretical framework, and this one is modeled in a circular process. It starts with the human factor and also ends with the human factor. And this is especially important in design research. As you might have noticed from the things I've been explaining, you might discover that there is a relationship between the literature review and the theoretical framework. The literature review is the process of reviewing literature, reading it, and also evaluating its worth. Whereas the theoretical framework is often your starting point for the literature review. You could derive keywords and topics to search for. Then there's also the literature review. It's a summary of topics, theories, and ideas from academic sources. And you make conclusions from this. And this is then the theoretical framework. It's the result from the literature review. It could be a model, a framework, like I showed you in examples. It could be theory and definitions that are derived from the things you've been reading. Then the literature review is a basis for theoretical model or framework, for example, the literature map. And the theoretical framework itself shows the relation of research with the body of knowledge, also called the BOK. And the body of knowledge is also, of course, again, the literature review. And the literature review you use to discuss different theories and definitions, and the conclusions are then put into the theoretical framework. And the theoretical framework can be used to show how your research contributes to the field. And the literature review shows the gap that is in this field or in the literature. So there's a strong relation between those two. And often also these words are used interchangeably. but they are definitely two separate things. I hope this knowledge clip gave you more insight into what is a literature review and what is a theoretical framework and how to build a theoretical framework for your research project. You can find more information about a theoretical framework or the literature review in the book of Git and Julsing, or you can go to the websites listed below and find more information about this online.